Hey, everybody, I'm John Granado. That's Lance Zerline. You can hear us mornings on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Hit subscribe if you haven't so you get all of our content here at SportsMap HOU. Lance, you know I've been a big Urquidy guy. Big Urquidy guy. Over the last few years, I've been a big advocate. I'm even just these last couple of starts. Listen, this rotation is so good, you can't afford to have Urquidy thrown the way that he is right now.
You almost asked him to prom one year.
Unfortunately for me, he got married this season.
Yeah, right. I mean,
right?
It happens.
This offseason, he got married, and I'm out.
And now you're coming over now you want to come over and knock on the door of my lover, Christian Javier.
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, come on over, Christian. I'm all in here. Let's go.
Don't. I've been a loyal.
I know you have been.
Boyfriend,
I'm not going to
Christian.
try to steal him away from you. You never do that to a friend. Take his girl. So listen, Urquidy has got to move but to me, you got to move him he's got to be in the bullpen. Do you just sit him in the postseason?
Maybe for the first round. Look, Urquidy, we wouldn't even be having this conversation if he hadn't crapped the bed 2 games in a row. 6 earned runs in both of his last 2 games. If Urquidy's next 2 starts are really good, are we going to be flipping and saying, no, Urquidy's number 4? Or are you going to say, and when I say you, I mean in the Ested form, of course. I don't know. I mean, it seems like with the Astros, it's this, ups and downs, this guy, that guy. Realistically, over the course of the season, Urquidy has been better on the whole than Luis Garcia, I think. Their ERAs are very similar. Javier has been better than both of them in terms of just pure stuff and ability in any given game. But Garcia does have a big postseason win and big postseason performance. So does Urquidy.
Urquidy too.
So they both have that. So I think there is a chance that one of those guys gets frozen out of the first round of the playoffs. I think there is that chance. And it's only because Hunter Brown, I would have never thought that except for the fact that Brian Abreu has pitched his way into a full-time bullpen job this year. And Hunter Brown, the addition of Hunter Brown has really, it's necessitated that he make this roster. He hasn't been with the team except for as a September call-up, so it's not even a conversation we were having in August, John. We weren't even talking about Hunter Brown being on the playoff roster.
No.
It wasn't even, we never even brought that up.
This is a Josh James ascension that we saw a few years ago when he first came up and he's throwing 100 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. We'll talk more about that in just a second, but first, if you have an enlarged prostate, it can be really dangerous, can't it?
Yes, so if you've got increased pressure, it could go up to your kidneys, cause kidney failure, and a lot of the symptoms are related to that pressure, so having to urinate often, incomplete emptying, so you'll go, but you don't feel like all of it came out.
We want an X stream, not a low stream, right?
That is what we're after here, is an extreme.
If you think you have an enlarged prostate, one place to go, 975prostate.com. Yesterday, Brandon, who's usually behind the scenes here, he did a video with Paul Gallant, and they discussed the bullpen roster. Who's going to be left off? Paul said Montero. Brandon said Maton. Who you got?
I'm going to say Maton.
I'm going to say
Will Smith?
It's going to be Martinez. And I'm going to say, no, actually, you know what? It ain't going to be Will Smith. Will Smith's going to be on the playoff roster.
No, Will Smith will, and there's a chance Maton will as well, and Montero. I think there's a good chance all 3. Seth Martinez, if I had to choose one, I'd say Maton's off, but there's a good chance that all those guys.
It could be Urquidy and Garcia, if you want to know the truth.
Yeah, could be.
They both might be off the playoff roster, depending on if they want to go. Now, they've had success. We've talked about it, so much success with starters coming in and relievers, but like you just mentioned, now you got Hunter Brown, that we just saw him throw 3 innings. And this is what Hunter Brown can do for you. It's what Brown can do for you, Lance.
Well, are they going to keep 12 pitchers or 13 pitchers?
They're going to keep probably 13.
Because they could go 12 and could go 14, and now all of a sudden you can keep 3 catchers if you want to, which is a luxury most teams don't have. But you could keep 3 catchers in case you want to pinch hit for Machete with Vasquez and still have an emergency catcher waiting. The emergence of, we don't have Jake Myers anymore, but Dubon's going to make it. You're going to have Mancini's going to make it. I mean, it does feel like it's weird. We get to 26 and you can start going through the names, and I'm expecting to cut a bunch of guys out, and yet pretty much everyone's going to make it. I think this is just going to be a year where you're going to have at least one and maybe two starting pitchers who don't make it. I think Dusty is going to say a bullpen pitcher is a bullpen pitcher, a starter is a starter. Hunter Brown is a bullpen pitcher for right now, and we're rolling with the guys that I've thrown in games all year long. I think the bullpen pretty much makes it en masse.
I don't know how you can put Maton in a high leverage situation.
I wouldn't do it.
I just don't.
He's there for extra innings if it goes deep.
And Abreu's been struggling a little bit lately. He might be the odd man out because he couldn't even get the job done last night with a 5-0 lead. He had to come and get him. So Abreu is a real possibility here. The way that he's struggling. If we're going to talk about Urquidy struggling, Abreu is right there as well. And the way that Will Smith has pitched lately. Despite what he was in Atlanta and how he started here, he's actually been much better here lately.
Well, then the conversation becomes, who do you think is the better pitcher? Because we can't base everything off of 2 outings, And I don't think Dusty will. I don't think James Click will. I think they'll say, a certain percentage of their decision will come from body of work. A certain percentage will come from what have you done for me lately? And then ultimately, I think it's going to be taking a look at the analytics and saying, okay, potentially going to spin rate, potentially going to the actual analytic numbers, and who's got the best stuff. Who do you trust in a high leverage situation? It isn't going to be Will Smith over Abreu. That's just not going to happen, I don't think.
No,
but Will Smith does have that background, though.
He's also a lefty, and you don't have any other lefties, despite the fact that you don't. As much as you might not believe in it, I'm sure Dusty does. That he got to have a lefty in the bullpen if he possibly can. Listen, the fact of the matter is that there's really possibly 1, 2, or 3 really good pitchers. Seth Martinez has been great all year. You know what? Seth Martinez probably is not on this roster.
He won't make it.
Abreu's been great all year up until recently. Urquidy's been great all year. Garcia's. You know what's going to happen is 2 really good pitchers are not going to be on this postseason roster, and that's what happens when you're as good pitching-wise as the Houston Astros are.